Hi everybody, it's Jamie. I just wanted to do a comparison between the old Olympic Nike Air Prestos and the new retro that's just released. So this pair is from 2000 it was released for the Olympics in 2000. This pair is a reissue that's being released for the Olympics in 2016. They're both identical sizes, except that Nike have changed their sizing over the years. Their kind of sizing. So originally this pair is XL, whereas this pair is US 14. But I've measured the soles; they're both the same. And also, in the interim period, in the mid 2000s, Nike have also had a sizing thing that went up to 3XL. Size 3XL is also the same. I'm a US 15 normally, but I can wear US 14 in Presto. So like I say, these are US 14. This is the original size XL. Both of these are identical, and they're also identical to the size 3XLs that Nike have had in the interim period between these two sizing methods. This bottom pair, so this was released in 2000, and the style number for this pair is 104242-461, and these were made in China. This top pair were made in Vietnam, and the style code for these is 848188-004. So like I say, they're both Nike Air Presto Olympic editions, but there's obviously, as you can probably already see, there's some differences between them. So some of the things it's a bit unfair to compare, like the shape and stuff, because this is 16 years old, whereas these rolled off of the production line a couple of months ago. But that said, even though these have had 16 years of aging and yellowing and dust and a bit of wear and things, I think it's fair to say that there is a clear difference in colour. So this is more of a purpley kind of colour on the mesh, whereas this is more of an icy blue kind of colour on the mesh, especially the clear bit here that doesn't have the rings. This is, yeah, definitely kind of more of a blue hue, whereas this is more purpley. There's also, as you can probably see, the rings are different. So the print on the rings is much bigger on the new pair. It's much smaller on the old pair. You've got 3 layers of rings here. You've got 2 layers of rings here. And that means this swoosh is kind of in the clear space here rather than having the rings intruding on the swoosh here, which is, I think, probably design-wise, this is nicer, personally. I'd say also with the rings on the heel, if we put them around this way, on the old pair you've got rings on the heel here, on the new pair you don't. Again, I guess that's probably because you've got 2 and they don't come up as far on the new one. And then also another thing you're going to notice is that the lace colour kind of matches the mesh here a bit more on this old pair, whereas here this is kind of more, this is more purpley, that the laces are more grey. Here they've kind of brought them a bit closer together, so these are still a bit more grey and this is still a bit more blue, but they're kind of closer in colour than the laces and the mesh on the old pair are. Cages is a fairly big thing. Everybody, I think, has been talking about that's been following these. So on the original pair, it's kind of a more silvery colour. I mean, obviously, with age, these are starting to yellow now, so it's a bit difficult to see what they originally were, but I was around when these came out and I kind of remember being kind of slightly more silvery kind of a colour, whereas on the new pair, it's fair to say they've gone for more of a frosted white / very pale blue kind of a colour. And that means that these dark rings around the lace holes kind of stand out a bit nicer, I think, personally, on the new pair than they do on the old pair. These kind of get lost a bit. I mean, again, there's aging, so it's not totally fair to compare a 16-year-old shoe with a brand new one. But I think and the lace colour, sorry, the cage colour is replicated on the toe cap as well. So you can see here on the toe cap, again, you've got the frosty colour, whereas here, this is actually a bit more clear than the cages, but it still kind of matches it a bit more. Well, it certainly does now because they're both yellowed the same amount anyway. And then on the heel, obviously, you can see the same thing. I think the kind of this, I guess you call it like obscured swoosh and air branding that they have on Prestos comes through nicer on the frosted kind of pair. Let me see if I can hold these a bit closer up. So yeah, you've got I think this kind of comes through nicer here than it does on the original. Again, I know these are 16 years old, so it will fade a bit, but I just think that this is more of a neutral, clear, well, frosted, but neutral white kind of a colour, and that means that red swoosh and Air branding comes through a bit nicer. Another thing on them is the USA. Now, I'm not sure how well this will come out on the video, but this is the OG pair. This is definitely more gold and shinier, whereas this is the new pair, and it's definitely a bit more bronzy coloured and not as shiny. But there's more definition on this. You can see that's a little bit messy, the stitching. It might just be the age, but I don't think it is. Personally, I actually prefer, even though this isn't as gold, and obviously on a something that's to do with the Olympics, you probably want gold rather than bronze. But I still kind of think that this actually looks a little bit nicer. I think maybe it's helped by the definition on the stitching, which just looks a bit cleaner. As for other things, I mean, underneath, soles are pretty much identical. I don't think there's any real difference there. Obviously, that looks more bright just because it's a brand new shoe, whereas this has been worn a bit. But other than that, one thing that you won't be able to tell on the video that all kind of Prestos these days are a bit different with is the mesh. So, I mean, you can't tell, but on the original, the mesh is really, really soft on the outside and the inside, whereas on the new ones, it's a lot kind of stiffer and it's quite scratchy on the inside. Well, scratchy is not really fair, but it's definitely more scratchy than the originals are. And if you're wearing recent Prestos without socks or with lowrider socks on, then the inside bit of the tongue can scratch the top of your foot a bit. I guess it depends on sizing. You could size up. I don't have that luxury because I'm obviously got huge feet, but I'm at the top of the size range, so I have to make do. But if you did size up, it'd probably be less of an issue. But on the originals, because the mesh is kind of more stretchy and softer, that's why I guess they've changed the sizing over the years, because they could cover a bigger size range. These were the XLs, I think, covered US 12 to 14 maybe, and that's because this mesh can just stretch more, whereas on the new ones, not so much. Like I say, it doesn't really come across on a video. If you get a chance to kind of get your hands on an original pair and a recent pair, have a feel for yourself, you'll see what I mean. It does, of course, mean that I guess that over time, this mesh kind of, you can see with the shape of the shoe, this has kind of collapsed a bit, but I think that's probably just age rather than the actual softness of the mesh. But they definitely feel nicer to wear, old Prestos. So yeah, other than that, I think Nike have done a pretty good job with the new ones. I know a lot of people say that, the cage colour isn't true to the original, which it isn't, but things aren't meant to just stagnate and churn out the same stuff over and over again. You're meant to have a bit of variety, and I think that what they've done works really well. I mean, it certainly matches the colour of the mesh a lot nicer, or sort of goes with the colour of the mesh a lot nicer. You could argue that this silvery colour goes nicer with the purpley colour, fair play. But I think, even though they've changed the colour of the cage and the toe cap, I think it looks really nice. I think they've done a good job. I quite like the large print. So if you're a fan of Prestos, I don't think you'll be disappointed, but it's down to personal preference. You might think differently. I've got room for both in my collection. I'm definitely going to continue wearing both, but the 2016 pair, when it releases, if you're into your Prestos, definitely you should go for, because I think Nike have done a really good job. I hope this has been helpful, and see you soon. Thanks, bye.